We are in Nehemiah chapter 2 today, and this begins during the month of Nisan. It's not a car type. This means that 4 months have passed since Nehemiah heard the news about the wall, the destruction in Jerusalem. And he was going to ask the king if he could go to Jerusalem and help restore it. A little bit of background, the king's servants were not allowed to be sad or unhappy in their presence. So remember that Nehemiah was the king's cupbearer, and so there was a really good relationship between them. So when the king asked, why do you look so sad? When you aren't that sick? This is nothing but sadness of the heart. Nehemiah said he was overwhelmed with fear because you're not allowed to be sad in front of the king. And he replied, may the king live forever. Why should I not be sad when the city where my ancestors are buried lies in ruins and the gates have been destroyed by fire? And the king asked, what is your request? And again, Nehemiah, before he answers, prays to the God of the heavens, says in verse 4, and verse 5 says, he answered the king, if it pleases the king, and if your servant has found favor with you, send me to Judah and to the city where my ancestors are buried, so that I may rebuild it. And so the king wants to know how long your journey will take and when you will return. And Nehemiah says, if it pleases the king, let me have letters written to the governors of the regions west of the Euphrates River, so that they will grant me safe passage until I return to Judah. The king did grant his request, for the gracious hand of God was on me. So what Nehemiah said, I love that. So Nehemiah arrived in Jerusalem and he stayed there for 3 days. Nehemiah arrived safely in Jerusalem and had been there 3 days before he decided to go to the damage and assess the situation. After he looked at all of the damage, the officials did not know where he had gone or what he was doing, for he had not told the Jews, priests, nobles, officials, and the rest of those who would be doing the work. And so verse 17 says, so I said to them, you see the trouble we are in. Jerusalem lies in ruins and the gates have been burned. Come, let's rebuild Jerusalem's wall so that we will no longer be a disgrace. I told them how the gracious hand of my God had been on me and what the king has said to me. And they said, let's start rebuilding. And their hands were strengthened to do this good work. And of course, whenever you are working for God, you're on the right path, you're doing your thing, there's probably going to be some naysayers. And those naysayers heard about this, they mocked and despised them and said, what is this you're doing? Are you rebelling against the king? Verse 20 and the last verse of this chapter says, I gave them this reply. The God of the heavens is the one who will grant us success. We, his servants, will start building, but you have no share, right, or historic claim in Jerusalem. The Bible is not boring. There is always some drama. I'm serious.